Marcus Chun stood in the grand hall of the Galactic Council Station, trying not to feel small. The room stretched higher than any cathedral on Earth, with walls that shifted colors like oil on water. Around the massive circular table sat representatives from 40 different species. Some had scales, others had feathers, and a few looked like they were made of living crystal. Marcus was the only human in the room. He adjusted his dark blue suit and checked his datapad one more time. Today, humanity would petition for membership in the Galactic Council. Everything had to go perfectly. "The human may speak," announced Ambassador Shun, a being that looked like a walking pillar of clear quartz with lights dancing inside. Marcus stepped forward. "Honored members of the Council, humanity comes before you in peace. We seek to join the greater galactic community and share in the knowledge and prosperity of you smell like prey." The voice cut through his speech like a knife. Marcus turned to see who had spoken. A tall figure rose from one of the seats. She was humanoid, but her skin was deep purple and covered in patterns that seemed to move. Her eyes were completely black, and when she smiled, Marcus saw too many teeth. "Excuse me?" Marcus said, keeping his voice level. The purple alien walked around the table toward him. Her movements were too smooth, too graceful, like a cat stalking a mouse. "I am Velkara of the Xylith Dominion," she said. "And I said you smell like prey, human." She stopped right in front of Marcus, invading his personal space. She was taller than him by at least 6 inches. Marcus could smell something strange coming from her, like copper and ozone. "The Xylith have dominated the Eastern Spiral Arm for 3,000 years, Velkara continued, circling Marcus slowly. "We have brought countless species into our fold. We are predators, human, and we always know prey when we see it." Other council members watched silently. Some looked uncomfortable. Others seemed amused. Marcus realized this was a test. Velkara was trying to intimidate him, to see if humans would fold under pressure. "With respect, Ambassador Velkara," Marcus said calmly, "humanity has faced many challenges. We don't intimidate easily." Velkara laughed. It sounded like wind chimes made of bone. "You say that now, but you've never faced a true predator before, have you? Your species has been alone on your little world. You've never met real danger." She leaned closer, her black eyes reflecting Marcus's face. "Do you know what my species does to prey, human? We feed on blood. We have special tendrils that can pierce flesh and drain every drop. We absorb the nutrients, the genetic information, everything. And we fed on hundreds of species across the stars." Marcus felt his heart beating faster, but he kept his expression neutral. He'd studied xenobiology for years. He knew many alien species used intimidation as a negotiation tactic. He wouldn't let Velkara see fear. "That's fascinating," Marcus said. "On Earth, we have creatures that feed on blood too. We call them mosquitoes. They're quite annoying." Several council members made sounds that might have been laughter. Velkara's expression darkened. "You mock me?" she hissed. "Not at all," Marcus replied. "I'm simply pointing out that blood feeding isn't unique. It's an interesting evolutionary adaptation." Velkara moved even closer. Marcus could see thin slits along her neck starting to open, revealing something dark and writhing beneath. Without thinking, he reached out and placed his hand on her shoulder in what he meant as a calming gesture. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Velkara jerked back as if she'd been electrocuted. Her black eyes went wide. Every council member in the room suddenly stood or rose or floated upward, depending on their physiology. The Crystal Ambassador, Chun, made a sound like shattering glass. Did he just, someone started to say. The human touched her. Another voice said in disbelief. Velkara's face had transformed from amused superiority. to something Marcus couldn't quite read. Rage, shock. Both. The slits on her neck opened wider, and Marcus saw dark tendrils beginning to emerge, each one lined with tiny thorns. "You dare?" Valkara's voice came out as a growl. "You dare touch a Xylith without permission?" Marcus looked around the room, confused. Everyone was staring at him with expressions of horror or fascination. Some were backing away. His datapad began buzzing urgently with messages from his support team watching from another room. "I apologize if I caused offense," Marcus said carefully. "I didn't mean." "Didn't mean?" Valkara's tendrils were fully extended now, waving in the air like angry serpents. "You have committed the gravest insult possible to my kind. No one touches a Xylith. No one. We are apex predators. We are the ones who touch others, who pierce them, who feed." She took a step toward Marcus, her tendrils reaching forward. "Touch me again, human, and I will siphon all your blood. I will drain you dry right here in this chamber and absorb everything you are. Your memories, your genetics, your very essence will become part of me. Do you understand? Touch me again and you die." The room was completely silent. Even the ambient hum of the station's life support seemed to have stopped. Marcus quickly pulled out his datapad with shaking hands and began searching for information on Xylith customs and biology. What he found made his blood run cold. Xylith were not just predators. They were the predators. In 3,000 years, they'd never lost a fight. They'd killed thousands of beings who challenged them. Their feeding process was horrific and final. Touching a Xylith was considered suicide by every species in the galaxy. It was the ultimate taboo, the ultimate challenge. Marcus looked up from his datapad. He saw Valkara standing there, tendrils waving, eyes burning with barely contained violence. He saw 40 different species watching him, waiting to see if humanity's first diplomatic contact would end with their ambassador's death. He thought about backing down, apologizing profusely, maybe salvaging some dignity. That would be the smart thing to do, the diplomatic thing. But Marcus also thought about every bully he'd ever faced, every threat, every moment someone had tried to make him small. He thought about humanity's long history of refusing to back down, even when it was stupid, even when it was dangerous. He put his datapad away. He took a breath. And then Marcus Chun, first human ambassador to the Galactic Council, reached out and gently touched Valkara's arm again. He even smiled a little. "I heard you the first time," he said quietly. The room erupted in chaos. Valkara's tendrils shot forward, piercing Marcus's arm. He felt a strange pulling sensation as the feeding began. The last thing he saw before the pain started was Ambassador Shan, screaming something about medical team's dot. Then everything went dark. Marcus felt the tendrils pierce his arm, but strangely, the pain wasn't as bad as he'd expected. It felt like getting a blood draw at the doctor's office, times 10. He could feel something pulling at his blood, drawing it out through the dark tubes that connected him to Valkara. The Xylith ambassador's eyes had closed. Her tendrils pulsed rhythmically as they fed. Around the room, other council members watched in stunned silence. Some had turned away. Others recorded everything on their devices. This was history being made, though probably not the kind humanity wanted. Marcus stood still, watching his own arm. He was a xenobiologist by training before becoming a diplomat. Even now, facing his possible death, he couldn't help being curious about the process. How exactly did Xylith biology work? How did they process foreign blood? Then something changed. Valkara's eyes snapped open. They weren't black anymore. They were wide and filled with something that looked like panic. Her mouth opened and a strange sound came out, something between a gasp and a scream. Her tendrils began to shake. The rhythmic pulsing stopped and became erratic, jerky. Marcus felt the pulling sensation stop, then reverse, as if his blood was flowing back into him. What's happening? Someone shouted. Velkara stumbled backward. Her tendrils retracted violently from Marcus's arm, leaving small puncture wounds that immediately started bleeding. She clutched her throat, her face contorting in obvious pain. Medical team to the council chamber immediately. Shan's voice rang out like struck crystal. Emergency protocols. Marcus pressed his hand against his arm to stop the bleeding. He watched as Velkara fell to her knees, her body convulsing. Purple foam started coming from her mouth. Her skin, which had been a deep, healthy purple, was turning pale and splotchy. Medical personnel rushed in from multiple doors. Some went to Marcus, others to Velkara. A small robot scanned Marcus's arm while a medic, who looked like a floating jellyfish, wrapped his wounds in something that felt cool and immediately stopped the bleeding. Are you in pain? The jellyfish medic asked, its translator turning the bubbling sounds into words Marcus could understand. Not much, Marcus said honestly. Is she going to be okay? Unknown. We've never seen a Xylith in distress like this. The medic floated closer to examine Marcus's eyes. Your pupils are normal. Heart rate elevated but stable. Blood pressure returning to baseline. You appear fine. Meanwhile, a team of 6 medics surrounded Velkara. They'd gotten her onto a floating stretcher. One of them, an insect-like being with multiple arms, was scanning her with several devices at once. Her filtration system is rejecting the intake, the insect doctor announced. Her neural processors are showing severe confusion. I'm detecting toxic reactions across multiple organ systems. Toxic? Another medic asked. But she's a Xylith. They can process any blood in the known galaxy. They fed on hundreds of species. Not this one, apparently. They rushed Velkara out of the chamber. Marcus tried to follow, but his security officer, who appeared to be made of living metal, blocked his path. You should remain here for observation, the officer said. I need to see what's happening, Marcus insisted. Sean glided over, lights flickering rapidly inside the crystal body. Let him go. I want to know what just occurred as much as anyone. The medical bay was like nothing on Earth. Beds floated in mid-air. Screens displayed information in languages and symbols Marcus didn't recognize. Velkara was in the center of it all, still convulsing, while doctors worked frantically around her. Marcus stood at a distance with Chen, watching. The crystal ambassador's lights had shifted to a deep blue color that Marcus's translator helpfully informed him meant concern. I don't understand, Chen said. Xylith physiology is designed for this. They're the perfect predators. They've evolved to process any biological material they consume. Marcus looked at his bandaged arm, thinking, maybe that's the problem. Explain. They evolved to process any blood in this galaxy, Marcus said slowly, the pieces coming together in his mind. But Earth isn't from here. I mean, we're in the same physical universe, obviously, but we evolved completely separately. Different evolutionary pressures. Different environmental conditions. Shen's light shifted to yellow. Continue. Marcus pulled out his datapad and began calling up files. Earth is what we call a death world. Look at this. Our planet has gone through 5 major extinction events. We've had ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts. Life on Earth has been fighting for survival since the beginning. He showed Shan images and data. Our blood isn't just blood. It's an entire defense system. We have white blood cells that attack anything foreign. We have antibodies that adapt to new threats. We have proteins and enzymes that break down toxins. But Xylith have processed aggressive immune systems before, Chen said. Not like ours. Marcus pulled up more information. Humans have fought diseases for millions of years. We've survived plagues that killed half our population. Our immune systems are constantly at war with bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi. Our blood doesn't just carry oxygen. It carries an army. On the medical table, Velkara had stopped convulsing. The doctors looked relieved. One of them approached Marcus and Sean. "She's stabilized," the insect doctor said. "But I've never seen anything like this." The human blood attacked her filtration system at the cellular level. Her processing enzymes couldn't break down the foreign proteins. Her neural network tried to absorb the genetic information and got confused by the complexity. It was like she tried to eat poison that fought back. "Will she recover?" Marcus asked, surprised by how worried he felt. "Yes, we flushed her system, but she won't be able to feed for several days. And I suspect she'll never forget this experience." The doctor's compound eyes focused on Marcus. "Your species is toxic to Xylith, possibly to other predator species as well. This is unprecedented." Over the next hour, as Velkara recovered, more information came out. Human blood had more iron than most species in the galaxy, at levels that were toxic to Xylith biology. The pH balance was all wrong, and human white blood cells, even disconnected from Marcus's body, had continued to attack Velkara cells like tiny soldiers that didn't know they'd been captured. When Velkara finally woke up, her first words were, "What are you?" Marcus had been sitting near her floating bed, reading reports on his datapad. He looked up to see her black eyes watching him with an expression he couldn't read. "I'm human," he said simply. "That's not an answer." Velkara's voice was weak, but her intensity remained. "I fed on warriors. I fed on creatures with armor, with venom, with strength, 10 times that of my own. But I've never felt prey fight back like that. Your blood tried to kill me." Marcus thought about how to explain. Earth didn't give us armor or venom or strength. It gave us something better. It gave us the ability to survive anyway. We're not the biggest or the strongest, but we're the hardest to kill. Velkara was quiet for a long moment. "You knew this would happen." "I suspected," Marcus admitted. "After I read about Xylith biology, I figured there was a chance you couldn't process human blood. I didn't know it would hurt you. I'm sorry for that." "You're sorry?" Velkara almost laughed, then winced in pain. "You defied death itself just to prove a point." "I proved that humans don't back down from predators," Marcus said. "Because we've been dealing with predators our whole evolutionary history. We've been prey for millions of years. And we survived by becoming something predators couldn't easily digest." "Your world sounds terrible," Velkara said. Marcus smiled. "It made us strong. And now I need to tell the Council about it. Because if humanity is going to join the galactic community, everyone should know what they're getting into." Velkara watched him leave, something new in her expression. It might have been fear, or respect, or maybe both. News traveled fast in the Galactic Council. By the next morning, every species on the station had heard about what happened. The human ambassador had survived a Xylith feeding. More than survived. He'd made the predator sick. Marcus woke to find his message queue flooded with thousands of communications. Some were from scientists wanting to study human biology. Others were from prey species, asking if humanity would share their secret. A few were from predator species, and those messages ranged from curious to threatening. Chen arrived at Marcus's quarters early. "The Council has requested you give a presentation about your species. There is much confusion and concern." "About humans being indigestible?" Marcus asked, drinking his coffee. The station had analyzed his food requirements and tried their best, though the coffee tasted like burnt dirt. "About humans being from what you called a death world. Most Council species don't understand the concept." Marcus looked out the window of his quarters at the stars beyond. Then I guess it's time for an education. 2 hours later, Marcus stood before the full Galactic Council again. This time, the room was completely silent. Every species watched him intently. Valkara was there too, still looking pale but insisting on attending. "Honored members," Marcus began, "I want to tell you about Earth." He activated his presentation, and the room's holographic displays lit up with an image of his home world. A blue and green marble spinning in space. "This is Earth. It looks peaceful, doesn't it? Beautiful, safe." Marcus zoomed in, showing continents and oceans. "But Earth is classified by our scientists as a Class 12 death world, one of the most dangerous planets we've ever found." Murmurs went through the council. One representative, a floating mass of tentacles, spoke up. "But your world has liquid water, stable temperatures, an oxygen atmosphere. These are signs of a safe, life-supporting planet." "On the surface, yes," Marcus agreed. "But let me show you what else Earth has." The display shifted to show volcanic eruptions, their power shaking the ground and darkening the sky. Supervolcanoes that can cause global winters lasting years. In our history, one nearly wiped out our entire species. Only a few thousand humans survived. Next came images of asteroids striking the planet, massive explosions that dwarfed anything the council members had seen. Regular extinction events. Every few million years, something from space hits us. 65 million years ago, an asteroid killed the dominant species on our planet. Life had to start over. Ice ages, Marcus continued, showing frozen landscapes covering half the planet. Periods where ice covered enormous portions of our world. Humans survived by adapting, by learning to make fire and shelter. The council watched in silence as Marcus showed earthquake after earthquake. Tsunami after tsunami, hurricanes that leveled cities. "But the worst threats on Earth aren't the big disasters," Marcus said. "They're the small ones. The ones you can't see." The display zoomed in to show microscopic organisms. Bacteria, viruses, parasites. Earth has billions of microorganisms. Most are harmless. Many are helpful. But some are deadly. Humanity has fought plagues throughout our history. The Black Death killed 1/3 of our population in the 14th century. Smallpox killed hundreds of millions. Spanish flu, HIV, COVID-19, and those are just the recent ones. A council member who looked like a collection of floating bubbles spoke up. "How does your species survive this?" "We adapt," Marcus said simply. "Our immune systems are incredibly complex because they have to be. Every human body is constantly at war with thousands of potential threats. Our blood doesn't just carry nutrients. It carries defenders, attackers, memory cells that remember every disease we've encountered." He showed images of white blood cells attacking bacteria. This is what Valkara tried to consume. Not just blood, but an army that's been training for millions of years. Valkara shifted in her seat, looking uncomfortable. Marcus continued. "And it's not just diseases. Earth's environment is hostile in other ways." He showed images of plants. "These look pretty, but many are poisonous. This one causes painful blisters. This one can kill you if you eat it. This one makes you hallucinate. We've learned to process toxins that would kill most species," Marcus explained. "We consume alcohol for pleasure. It's literally poison, but our livers can break it down. We eat plants containing capsaicin, a compound that causes pain, because we enjoy the sensation. We drink liquids with caffeine, a natural insecticide, to wake up in the morning." The council members looked at each other with what Marcus was learning to recognize as shock. "But the most dangerous thing on Earth," Marcus said, pulling up a new image, "is other humans." The display showed battles, wars, conflicts throughout human history. We've been fighting each other for our entire existence. Not just for food or territory, but for ideas, for resources, for pride. We've invented thousands of ways to kill each other. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and asteroid impacts, but we've also survived ourselves. This is insane, someone muttered. This is evolution, Marcus corrected. This is what happens when a species has to fight for survival every single day for millions of years. We became adaptable, resilient, hard to kill. He zoomed out to show Earth again. You look at us and see a young species with short lifespans and fragile bodies. You think we're weak because we don't have armor or claws or natural weapons. But that's exactly wrong. Marcus pointed at the planet. Our short lifespans mean we adapt faster. Each generation is slightly different, slightly better at surviving. Our fragile bodies mean we had to become smart, to make tools, to work together. Our lack of natural weapons meant we had to invent them. We learned to make fire, to forge metal, to split atoms. You see weakness, Marcus said, his voice growing stronger. We see the refinement that comes from being tested constantly. Every challenge, every threat, every disaster made us stronger. Not physically, evolutionarily, mentally, culturally. The room was completely silent now. So yes, Marcus said, human blood is toxic to Xylith. It's probably toxic to other predator species too. But that's not a weapon. That's just who we are. We're survivors from a death world. We've been prey for millions of years. And we survive by becoming something that's very, very hard to eat. A council member Marcus hadn't heard from before. A reptilian species called the Draken stood up. This is all very interesting, human. But it doesn't matter. One individual's immunity means nothing. The Xylith Dominion has fleets of warships. They could destroy your entire species if they chose to. Marcus nodded. That's true. We're not a military power. We're barely a spacefaring civilization. We've only had faster-than-light travel for 20 years. Then what protection do you offer this council? The Draken demanded. Why should we allow a Death World species into our midst? You could be dangerous. We could be, Marcus agreed. But here's what I know about galactic history. I've been reading constantly since we arrived. And I've noticed something. The galaxy has been stable for a very long time. The same empires in power. The same territories. The same way of doing things for thousands of years. He looked around the room. You've all reached a kind of equilibrium. The strong species dominate. The weak ones survive by being useful or by hiding. And everyone stays in their lane. Is that about right? Several council members nodded. That's not survival, Marcus said. That's stagnation. On Earth, we have a saying, adapt or die. Species that stop adapting go extinct. Civilizations that stop changing collapse. The universe doesn't care about your equilibrium. It keeps throwing new challenges at you. And you think your species is the answer? The Draken asked mockingly. I think we're something new, Marcus said. Something the galaxy hasn't seen before. We're a young species from a terrible world who learned that the only way to survive is to never stop changing, never stop adapting, never stop trying. We're not strong. We're resilient. And there's a difference. Before anyone could respond, Shun's lights flashed urgently. Attention! The vote on humanity's membership will now take place. Marcus watched as the council members activated their voting systems. Lights appeared above each seat. Green for yes. Red for no. Yellow for abstain. The results came in slowly. Some greens, mostly from prey species who saw humans as potential allies. Some reds from predator species who didn't want competition. Yellows from those who remained uncertain. The final count appeared on the main display. Green, 23. Red, 15. Yellow, 2. The motion passes, Chen announced. Humanity is granted probationary membership in the Galactic Council. You will have 1 year to demonstrate your value to this community. Marcus let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Thank you, honored members. As the council members filed out, Velkara approached Marcus. She moved slowly, still recovering, but with purpose. Human, she said. Marcus, he corrected gently. Marcus. She seemed to test the name. I need to speak with you. In private. There are things about the galaxy you don't know. Dangerous things. And I believe your species is going to need allies very soon. Marcus looked at the Xylith ambassador, remembering how she'd tried to kill him just yesterday. Now she was offering warnings and help. The galaxy was already proving more complicated than he expected. Lead the way, Marcus said. As they left the chamber together, Marcus noticed other council members watching them with surprise. The predator and the prey, walking side by side. It was something new. Something the galaxy hadn't seen before. Maybe that was exactly what was needed. Velkara led Marcus to a private meeting room far from the main council chamber. The room was small and simple, with walls that could turn opaque for privacy. She activated the privacy field, and the transparent walls became dark and solid. What I'm about to tell you could get me killed, Velkara said, sitting down carefully. She still looked weak from yesterday's incident. But I believe you need to know. Marcus sat across from her. I'm listening. The Xylith Dominion is not what it appears, Velkara began. We show strength, but inside we're dying. For 3,000 years, we've expanded across the galaxy by conquering and feeding. Every species we encountered either joined us or became food. It was simple, effective. She looked at her hands, at the slits on her neck that had tried to drain Marcus. But then we stopped finding new species. We reached our limits. And we discovered something terrible. Without new genetic material to absorb, without new challenges, we began to decline. Our birth rates dropped. Our people became bored, complacent. Like I said in my presentation, Marcus noted. Adapt or die. Yes, we stopped adapting because we no longer needed to. We were perfect predators in a galaxy we'd already conquered. But perfection is a trap. It means you have nowhere to grow. Velkara leaned forward. Then you arrived. The first species in centuries that we cannot consume. The first prey that fights back at the cellular level. Do you understand what this means? Marcus thought about it. We're something new. A challenge. More than that. You're proof that the galaxy is bigger than we thought. That there are still surprises out there. That evolution doesn't stop. Velkara's black eyes seemed to shine with something Marcus hadn't seen before. Hope, maybe. My people need that. We need humanity. You tried to kill me yesterday, Marcus pointed out. I tried to feed on you according to our traditions. It's what my people do. What we've always done. She looked away. But lying in that medical bay, feeling my own body reject your blood, attacking me from the inside. I had time to think. Maybe the old ways aren't working anymore. Maybe we need to change. Before Marcus could respond, his communicator buzzed. It was his assistant, David Kim, another human diplomat who'd arrived overnight with a larger Earth delegation. Marcus, you need to see this. We're in Observation Room 7. Marcus looked at Velkara. Can this wait? Go, but come back. We're not finished talking. Marcus found Observation Room 7 filled with other humans. 6 of them had arrived on the supply ship, each chosen for different skills. There was David, a linguist, Dr. Sarah Rodriguez, a physician, James Chun, a military advisor and Marcus's cousin, and 3 others, including a young engineer named Kenji, who was currently eating something purple and glowing. Is that food? Marcus asked. Station nutrient bar, Kenji said, chewing. It's labeled as extreme caution for most species. Contains compounds that can cause organ failure in 17 different aliens. Tastes like blueberry to me. Sarah was running scans on Kenji with a portable medical device. His vitals are fine. The compounds that are toxic to other species are being processed normally by his liver. Just like how we process alcohol. We're collecting data, David explained. Testing what humans can tolerate that other species can't. The results are surprising. James, the military advisor, was reviewing reports on a datapad. I've been going through galactic history files. Marcus, we need to talk about the power structure here. Marcus listened as James explained what he'd found. The Galactic Council wasn't just a democracy. It was controlled, subtly, by something called the hierarchy. An ancient empire that had existed for over 50,000 years. They don't rule openly, James said. They work through proxy species. They control trade routes, information flow, and military power. They're the reason the galaxy has been so stable. They maintain the status quo. Let me guess, Marcus said. They don't like change. They hate it. And we're change. A new species from outside their control, with biology that doesn't fit their models. I've been reading between the lines in these diplomatic cables. The hierarchy sees us as a threat. As if on cue, the observation room's communication system activated. A face appeared on the screen. Not a face Marcus recognized, but something ancient and cold. The being looked humanoid but was covered in metallic scales that reflected light like mirrors. Human Ambassador Marcus Chen, the being said. I am Archon's author of the hierarchy. We need to discuss your species' future in this galaxy. Marcus stepped forward. I'm listening, Archon. You will leave the Galactic Council. You will return to your home world. You will limit your faster-than-light travel to your own solar system. You will not contact other species. You will remain isolated until the hierarchy determines you are ready to join galactic civilization. And if we refuse? Marcus asked, keeping his voice calm. Then you will be quarantined by force. Your species represents a contaminant to the galactic order. You are from a death world. Your biology is toxic. Your culture is aggressive. You do not fit. We just got accepted into the council, Marcus pointed out. A mistake that will be corrected. The council does not understand the danger you represent. But the hierarchy has maintained peace for 50,000 years. We know threats when we see them. Marcus felt anger rising but pushed it down. We're not a threat. We're just trying to... You defied a Xylith predator and survived. You consume toxins for pleasure. Your blood attacks those who try to consume it. You come from a world that has tried to kill you for millions of years, and you adapted by becoming something we have never seen. You are a threat by your very nature. The Archon's metallic face showed no emotion. You have one rotation of your planet to decide. Leave peacefully or be removed. The hierarchy has spoken. The communication cut off. The room was silent for a moment. Then Kenji spoke up, still eating his toxic snack. So, that guy seems friendly. This is bad, Sarah said. We just got here. We can't leave now. We won't, Marcus said firmly. We didn't come all this way to give up at the first threat. The first threat? James laughed without humor. Marcus, that was the hierarchy. They've controlled the galaxy for 50,000 years. They have technology we can't imagine. Military power beyond anything Earth has. If they decide to quarantine us by force, then we'll deal with it, Marcus interrupted. Humanity didn't survive ice ages and plagues and extinction events by backing down. We survived by being stubborn, by refusing to quit. His communicator buzzed again. This time, it was Velkara. Marcus, I heard about the hierarchy's message. I need to see you now. And bring your military advisor. They found Velkara in the same private room, but she wasn't alone. 3 other aliens were with her. One was a small, furry creature that looked like a cross between a cat and an owl. Another was a crystalline being similar to Chen but smaller. The third was a hulking creature covered in thick, rocky skin. These are representatives from species that have been oppressed by the hierarchy, Velkara explained. The Farron, the Lumina, and the Gorth. They've been waiting for someone to challenge the hierarchy's control. They believe humanity might be that someone. The cat-owl creature, the Farron representative, spoke in a high musical voice. The hierarchy came to us 200 years ago. They said our technology was advancing too quickly. They said we needed to slow down for the good of galactic stability. When we refused, they destroyed our research facilities and killed our scientists. The crystalline Luma spoke next. They control information. They decide which species can access certain technologies. They maintain artificial scarcity to keep everyone dependent on them. And they destroy any species that threatens their order, the Gorth rumbled, his rocky voice like grinding boulders. We've all lost people to the hierarchy, but we're too weak to fight back alone. Marcus looked at Velkara. You're proposing an alliance. I'm proposing survival, Velkara corrected. The hierarchy is already moving against you. They sent me a message too. They offered the Xylith Dominion control of human space if we helped them eliminate your species. And? James asked tensely. And I told him no. Velkara stood up straighter despite her injuries. Because I understand something they don't. Humanity isn't a threat to galactic civilization. They're a threat to galactic stagnation. And I've seen what stagnation does to my people. It kills us slowly. She walked to the window, looking out at the stars. The hierarchy wants to preserve the galaxy as it is, perfect, unchanging, dead. But life isn't meant to be preserved like that. Life is meant to grow, to change, to adapt. Velkara turned back to Marcus. You asked me yesterday what my species does now that we've reached our limits. I'll tell you. We have 2 choices. We can fade away slowly, preserving our pride but losing our purpose. Or we can find a new purpose. A new challenge. And we're that challenge, Marcus said. You're that opportunity. An alliance between humans and Xylith would shock the galaxy. Prey and predator, working together. Other species would have to reconsider everything they thought they knew. The Farron representative chirped excitedly. With Xylith military power and human adaptability, we could actually challenge the hierarchy. We could fail, James pointed out. They've been in power for 50,000 years. They have resources we can't match. But they've been unchallenged for 50,000 years, Marcus countered. That means they're comfortable, complacent, maybe even stagnant, like Velkara said. They expect everyone to back down, to accept the status quo. He looked around at the assembled beings. Different species, different biologies, different cultures. But all of them tired of the hierarchy's control. On Earth, we have another saying, Marcus said. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. The hierarchy thinks we're a contaminant that needs to be removed. Maybe we are. Maybe we're exactly the kind of contaminant that a stagnant system needs. Then you'll fight? Velkara asked. Marcus thought about Earth, about humanity's long history of facing impossible odds. About every time someone had told humans they couldn't do something, and humans did it anyway. We'll fight, Marcus said. Not because we want war, but because we refuse to be quarantined for being different. If the hierarchy wants to remove us, they'll have to try. And they'll find out what every predator on Earth eventually learned. What's that? The Gorth asked. Marcus smiled. That humans make terrible prey. The hierarchy's fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system exactly 24 hours after their ultimatum. 50 massive warships, each one larger than any human vessel. They positioned themselves between Earth and the rest of the galaxy. A blockade meant to isolate humanity forever. Marcus watched from the observation deck of the Council Station as the fleet's arrival was broadcast across every screen. Around him stood his human team, Velkara, and representatives from the allied species. Earth's government had given Marcus authority to act as their voice in this crisis. "They're not attacking," Sarah observed. "Just blocking all routes in and out of your system." "A quarantine," James said grimly. "They'll let us keep Earth, but we'll never leave. We'll be trapped on our own planet forever." "No," Marcus said quietly. "We won't." His communicator lit up with an incoming message. It was from Earth's Defense Coordinator, Admiral Patricia Okafor. Her face appeared on his personal screen, and she looked tired but determined. "Marcus, we're tracking the hierarchy fleet. We've activated all defensive protocols. But I need to be honest with you. We can't win a direct fight. They have technology centuries ahead of ours." "I know," Marcus said. "But we're not going to fight alone." Over the past 24 hours, Marcus and his unlikely alliance had been busy. Velkara had reached out to Xylith fleet commanders who were tired of stagnation. The Farron had contacted their old allies. The Lumine had spread the word through their information networks. And Marcus had sent a message to every species in the Galactic Council. The message was simple. The hierarchy is forcing humanity into isolation not because we're dangerous, but because we're different. If they can do this to us, they can do it to anyone. Stand with us or accept that you'll never be allowed to change, to grow, to evolve. Now they would see who listened. "Admiral," Marcus said, "I need you to broadcast something for me. To the hierarchy fleet and everyone watching." "Can you do that?" "We can." "What do you want to say?" "The truth." 5 minutes later, Marcus's face appeared on every screen in the solar system, on the Council Station, on every ship in the hierarchy fleet, and on thousands of worlds across the galaxy. His message was being translated into hundreds of languages simultaneously. "My name is Marcus Chun, and I speak for humanity," he began. 24 hours ago, the hierarchy told us we must remain isolated because we're different. Because we come from what they call a death world. Because our biology doesn't fit their models. Because we represent change in a galaxy that hasn't changed in 50,000 years. Marcus paused, letting his words sink in. They're right about one thing. We are different. Earth is a brutal world that has tried to kill us in every way imaginable. Ice ages, volcanoes, asteroids, plagues, predators, and each other. We've nearly gone extinct multiple times. But we didn't. We survived. And we survived by learning one crucial lesson: adapt or die. He leaned forward, looking directly into the camera. The hierarchy thinks they're protecting the galaxy by keeping us contained. But they're not protecting you from us. They're protecting themselves from change. They've been in power so long that they've forgotten what evolution means, what growth means, what life means. Life isn't meant to stay the same, Marcus continued. Life is messy. It's chaotic. It makes mistakes and learns from them. It fails and tries again. It faces impossible challenges and finds impossible solutions. That's what we do. That's what humanity is. On the screen behind him, images began to play. Humans climbing mountains. Humans diving into oceans. Humans building cities, creating art, exploring caves, launching ships into space. Humans helping each other after disasters. Humans of every color, every culture, every background, working together. You see a death world species, Marcus said. We see survivors. You see toxic blood. We see an immune system that never stops fighting. You see short lifespans. We see quick adaptation. You see fragile bodies. We see minds that learn to make tools, to make fire, to make miracles. His voice grew stronger. The hierarchy says we're a contaminant. Maybe we are. Maybe the galaxy needs to be contaminated with hope, with change, with the understanding that the way things are isn't the way things have to be. Marcus stood up, his image now filling the entire screen. So here's what I say to the hierarchy. You can blockade our system. You can try to keep us trapped on our world. But you can't stop what we represent. You can't stop ideas. You can't stop inspiration. And you can't stop the dozens of species watching this right now who are tired of your control, who are tired of stagnation, who are ready for something new. He smiled. And it was the same calm smile he'd given Velkara before touching her the second time. You wanted to isolate one species, but you've united dozens. You wanted to preserve your order, but you've started a revolution. You wanted to show your strength, but you've exposed your fear. Because you know the truth, Marcus said softly. You know that if one species can challenge you, others will follow. You know that your 50,000 years of control are based not on being the strongest, but on everyone believing you're the strongest. And we've just broken that belief. The message ended. For a moment, nothing happened. The hierarchy fleet remained in position. The galaxy held its breath. Then space around Earth's solar system began to shimmer. Ships appeared. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Xylith warships with their distinctive purple hulls. Farron science vessels. Lumon information ships. Gorath heavy cruisers. And ships from species Marcus had never even heard of, all arriving to stand between Earth and the hierarchy. On the council station, alarms began blaring. Emergency sessions were called. The Archon's face appeared on every screen, his metallic features twisted in fury. You dare? His voice boomed across every channel. We are the hierarchy. We have maintained order for 50 millennia. You've maintained stagnation, Velkara's voice interrupted. She'd taken control of the broadcast from her position on the council station. And some of us are tired of it. More ships appeared. The coalition was growing by the minute. Not just military vessels, but civilian ships, cargo haulers, even small personal craft. Hundreds of species sending one simple message. We stand with the humans. The hierarchy fleet began to power up weapons. For a moment, it seemed like the galaxy was about to plunge into the largest war in its history. Then Shen's voice rang out, clear as struck crystal. Stop. The crystalline ambassador had taken command of the council's central broadcasting system. The image showed the full council chamber where an emergency vote had just concluded. The Galactic Council has voted, Sean announced. By a margin of 37-3, the Council rejects the hierarchy's quarantine of humanity. Furthermore, by a margin of 35-5, the Council votes to formally limit the hierarchy's power and establish a new committee to review all past quarantine orders. The Archon's face appeared again, but his rage had turned cold. The Council has no authority over the hierarchy. We are eternal. We are inevitable. We will. You are outnumbered, Velkara said calmly. Look at your scanners, Archon. Count the ships. The galaxy has spoken. And it says, adapt or die. Marcus watched from the observation deck as the hierarchy fleet remained frozen in position. They had superior technology, but they were 50 ships against hundreds. And more were arriving every minute. Species that had been oppressed, controlled, or limited by the hierarchy for millennia were finally saying enough. The standoff lasted for hours. No shots were fired. Both sides waited to see who would blink first. Finally, the hierarchy fleet began to withdraw. Slowly, reluctantly, but undeniably. They jumped away one by one, returning to whatever distant corner of the galaxy they called home. The coalition ships erupted in celebration. Cheers in dozens of languages filled the communication channels. The galaxy had changed. The hierarchy's control had been broken. And it had all started with one human refusing to back down from a predator. Later that evening, Marcus stood in the observation room with Velkara. The Xylith ambassador had recovered fully, though she still moved carefully. They watched Earth spinning below, blue and green and beautiful. "You know, this isn't over," Velkara said. "The hierarchy will try again. They'll be more subtle, more patient. They have time. So do we," Marcus replied. "And we have something they don't. What's that? We have momentum. We have change. We have dozens of species who just discovered they don't have to accept the status quo." Marcus turned to look at Velkara. "We have allies. Even former predators who tried to eat us." Velkara laughed, a sound that was becoming less frightening and more familiar. "About that, I want to apologize properly. For trying to drain your blood. For threatening to kill you. It was uncultured. You were following your nature," Marcus said. "I get it. Still, as an apology, I've been authorized by the Xylith Dominion to offer Earth a formal alliance. Trade agreements, technology sharing, military cooperation, and—" She hesitated. "I've been assigned as the permanent Xylith ambassador to Earth. I'll be spending a lot of time on your death world." Marcus smiled. "I think you'll like it. It's dangerous, but that's what makes it interesting." "I've been reading about your planet," Velkara admitted. "Apparently, you have something called coffee. A toxic beverage that most species can't consume without becoming ill. It's an acquired taste. I want to try it. And your spicy foods. And your alcoholic beverages. I want to understand how a species learns to consume poisons for pleasure." Marcus laughed. "That's very human of you. Adapting to new experiences. Perhaps some of your death world philosophy is rubbing off on me." Velkara looked out at the stars. "My people spent 3,000 years believing we were perfect. That we'd reached the peak of evolution. And in one day, a human showed me how wrong we were. There's always room to grow. Always room to change. So what happens now?" Marcus asked. "Now?" Velkara's black eyes reflected the lights of ships passing by outside. "Now the real work begins. Integrating humanity into galactic civilization. Reforming the Council. Limiting the hierarchy's power. Helping dozens of species rediscover their independence. It will take years, decades, maybe centuries. And you're sure you want Earth's help with all that?" Velkara turned to face him directly. "Marcus, I touched your blood. I felt how it fought back even when disconnected from your body. I saw how you stood up to the most powerful empire in the galaxy with nothing but words and courage. Yes, I want Earth's help. The galaxy needs what humanity has. What's that? The audacity to believe that impossible things can be done." Velkara smiled, showing those too many teeth that Marcus was starting to find less threatening. The stubbornness to try anyway. The resilience to survive failure and keep going. You call it being human. I call it exactly what this galaxy has been missing. Marcus extended his hand. Velkara looked at it, remembering the last time he'd touched her. Then, slowly, she reached out and clasped his hand in hers. A human handshake, the symbol of peace and partnership. "To new beginnings," Marcus said. "To adaptation," Velkara replied. They stood there, predator and prey, hand in hand, watching as hundreds of ships from dozens of species celebrated the beginning of a new era in galactic history. Below them, Earth spun on, the death world that had forged humanity into survivors, the planet that had tested them with every disaster imaginable. The world that had taught them one crucial lesson. When someone tells you to back down, sometimes the right answer is to smile and touch them again. Because that's what humans do. They face the impossible. They challenge the unchallengeable. They refuse to be contained, controlled, or limited. They survive. They adapt. They persist. And now, the galaxy would have to learn to keep up.